In the last week, we were discussing that Devahuti begot 9 daughters through Kardama, and eventually, as originally promised, Kardama was about to leave for the forest, and then Devahuti, though appearing externally pleasing, but internally feeling very sad, expresses her pitiable condition to her husband that you are a great devotee. All these days I was in your association, though you were ready to offer me abhaya, fearlessness, the transcendental blessings, but I sought after your association as my husband, and I wanted to have children through your majestic personality. So, but now you are leaving. I will be left alone without any protection. Please, just like a person knowingly or unknowingly associates with a materialistic person becomes materialistic. Similarly, a person who associates with a sadhu develops sadhu qualities. So I have been in your association a great sadhu. So it is determined that just by being in the association of great sadhu, one develops saintly qualities. So I was also expecting the same thing. So before departing, my dear Lord, my dear husband, kindly award me fearlessness, either awarding me liberation or awarding me a son who can give me fearlessness, either of the two. Then, remembering the words of the Supreme Lord, Kardama kind of pacified Devahuti, telling that the Lord had informed that he will appear as our son. So I request you to perform a rigorous sadhana, perform some austerities, giving charity to the Brahmanas, following rules and regulations, and worshipping the deity every day with proper nishtha, etc. So with that, we can invite the Supreme Lord, something like that he says. So she followed all those things very nicely. Then in due course of time, the Supreme Lord, being pleased with their austere condition, with their dedication, with their surrender, enters into the womb of Devahuti. So understanding that the Supreme Lord had entered into the womb of Devahuti, all the Devatas expressed their jubilation by showering flowers, etc., etc. Singing, dancing, all these things by Gandharvas and Apsaras. Then Lord Brahma, accompanied by his 14 sons, he comes down to the ashram of Kardama Muni, to the Bindusarovar area. There, having come there, Lord Brahma is speaking to Kardama and Devahuti. So that is the subject matter for today's today's discussion. First, Lord Brahma worshipped the Supreme Lord who is still in the womb of Devahuti, and then he begins to speak to both Kardama and Devahuti. Sabhajayan Vishuddhena Chetasa Tat Chakirchitam Praharsha Maner Asubi Kardamam Chedam Abhyadat. So now he is speaking to Kardama, having worshipped the Supreme Lord. So Brahmovacha Tvaya me pachitastata Kalpita nirvalikata Yenme sanjagravakyam Bhavan manadamanayan.
Lord Brahma said, "My dear son Kardama, since you have completely accepted my instructions without duplicity, showing them proper respect, you have worshipped me properly. Whatever instructions you took from me, you have carried out, and thereby you have honored me."
Yeah, here one of the important principle that establishes the relationship between father and son, guru and disciple, that has been stated in this verse and the next two verses. Next verse. So Prabhupada writes on this subject matter very nicely in the purport. Here Lord Brahma says that Tvaya me apachita stata kalpita nirvelikata. Nirvelikata means without any pretensions, without any saying no or grudging, you have followed all my instructions completely in toto. Enme sanjagre vakyam, having accepted my words as your life and soul, you have executed all those instructions. How? Bhavan manada manada. Considering me as your final authority, you have given me great respect by accepting my words and executing those words. So this is how Lord Brahma expresses his satisfaction with Kardama Muni. So Prabhupada writes, Lord Brahma is the first living entity within the universe. He is supposed to be the spiritual master of everyone, Adi Guru. And he is also the father, the creator of all beings. Kardama Muni is one of the Prajapatis, or creators of living entities, and he is also a son of Brahma. Brahma praises Kardama because he carried out the orders of the spiritual master in toto and without cheating. A conditioned soul in the material world has the disqualification of cheating. Prabhupada talks about the 4 limitations that a living entity has. So, that are being mentioned here. A conditioned soul in the material world has the disqualification of cheating. He has 4 disqualifications. He is sure to commit mistakes. He is sure to be illusioned. He is prone to cheat others. And his senses are imperfect. Imperfect senses, illusion, making mistakes, and cheating others. So these are the propensities of the conditioned soul in this material world. But if one carries out the order of the spiritual master by disciplic succession or the parampara system, he overcomes the 4 defects. So here Prabhupada gives the formula to overcome the 4 defects. If one carries out the order of the spiritual master coming the disciplic succession, one can overcome the 4 defects. Therefore, knowledge received from the bona fide spiritual master is not cheating. Any other knowledge which is manufactured by the conditioned soul is cheating only. Brahma knew well that Kardama Muni exactly carried out the instructions received from him, and that he actually honored his spiritual master. To honor the spiritual master means to carry out his instructions word for word. To honor the instruction of the spiritual master means to carry out the orders of the spiritual master word for word. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in the very first meeting instructed Srila Prabhupada that why don't you preach the message of Lord Chaitanya in the English speaking world so that you and the entire world can be benefited. This he also confirmed before departing from this world. So 2 times he kind of confirmed it. First time in the 1922, second time in 1936 or 37 January 1st. Of course, he passed away January 1st. But a few days before, Prabhupada received a letter from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So that was an example of following the order of the spiritual master, considering it to be one's life and soul. Even in the next verse, the same theme continues. Etavati eva sushrusha karya pitari putrakai bhadam iti anumanyeta gauravena gurorvacha.
Sons ought to render service to their father exactly to this extent. One should obey the command of his father or spiritual master with due deference, saying, "Yes, sir."
So, how the son or the disciple should render service to the father or the guru? That is indicated in this verse. What should be the mindset of the disciple or the son? 2 words in this verse are very important. One is pitari and another word is guru. Etavati eva sushrusha karya pitari putraka. Pitari putraka, the relation between son and father, father and son. Badamiti anumanneta gauravena guror vacha. So here guror vacha. So it's like that. The son or disciple should accept the words of his spiritual master and father without hesitation. Whatever the father and the spiritual master order should be taken without argument. Yes, Badam iti anumanneta means, yes, sir, I am here to execute whatever you say. There is no argument. It should not be done like this, it should not be like that, done like that. So instead of telling all those arguments, all those counter instructions, one should carry out as it is. So Gauravena Gurur Vacha, giving highest respect to the words of the father or the guru. So that's what Brahmaji is telling. There should be no instance in which the disciple or the son says, this is not correct, I cannot carry it out. When he says that, he is fallen. The father and the spiritual master are on the same platform because the spiritual master is second father. The higher classes are called Dvija, twice born. Whether there is a question of birth, whenever there is a question of birth, there must be a father. The first birth is made possible by the actual father, and the second birth is made possible by the spiritual master. Sometimes the father and the spiritual master may be the same man. Like, for example, in the case of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, for him, before he accepted Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj as spiritual master, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself was acting as father as well as guru. So this could be possible for some. And sometimes they are different men. In any case, the order of the father or the order of the spiritual master must be carried out without hesitation. With an immediate yes. There should be no argument. That is the real service to the father and to the spiritual master. So now then, Srila Prabhupada takes the quotation by Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur has stated that the order of the spiritual master is the life and soul of the disciple. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana. A disciple should take the order of the spiritual master as Vyavasayatmika buddhi, something like that. In that purport, Prabhupada, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti mentioned. As a man cannot separate his life from his body, a disciple cannot separate the order of the spiritual master from his life. If a disciple follows the instructions of the spiritual master in that way, he is sure to become perfect. A devotee of such kind of dedication and caliber is sure to become perfect. This is confirmed in Upanishads. The import of Vedic instruction is revealed automatically only to one who has implicit faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and in his spiritual master. Shvetavatar Upanishad, there is a quotation which Prabhupada quotes again and again in his Bhagavad Gita commentary. Many times it comes in Bhagavad Gita. So this is confirmed in the Upanishad that the import of the Vedic instructions is revealed automatically only to one who has implicit faith in the personality of Godhead and in the spiritual master. Can anyone guess what was the verse which Prabhupada is indicating here? Yes, Benith Prabhu, this verse came in Bhagavad Gita many times.
Yasyasti Bhaktir Bhagavati Akinchana.
Yes, that only, but complete verse.
I am sorry, Prabhuji, I don't remember the whole verse.
Okay. Anyone else?
Roji, I don't know the complete means in between sentence. I don't know. I will try. Yasyasi Bhaktir Bhagavat Akinchana. Something in between is there, and Hare.
No, that is a verse from Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj speaks that verse, not that. Yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tata guru tasaite kattai artha prakashante mahatmana. This is a verse from Shvetavatar Upanishad Bhagavad Gita. Many times this verse is quoted by Srila Prabhupada. So, Yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tata guru. Just like a person has faith on the Supreme Lord, if they have the similar faith on the Guru, tassaite katitai artha prakashante mahatmana. For that person, the meaning of all Vedic literature is very easily revealed. So it is like that. So basically, here the indication is that one should have same faith one has upon the Supreme Lord, upon the Guru also. So then only the import of all the Vedic literature will be revealed through the via medium of the Guru. So that is the understanding.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Here about the Guru's order, whatever is mentioned, it is a specific order given to disciple but in particular or in general, whatever Guru says is to be taken as the order of the Guru. Like every instruction has to be followed at, but still here whatever has been stressed that immediately we should say yes sir, and without any hesitation one should follow it, or without any asking questions or anything. So that is said about the specific instructions of the Guru.
See, we have to see in both the ways also. Saying yes sir, I am ready to do whatever you say. So that means every instruction, every general instruction or every personal instruction, or sometimes the most specific important, the most specific instruction which is pertinent to the disciples perfection. So we can also consider like that. The most important instruction that Guru gives to disciple, that which the Guru expects the disciple to follow for the entire life. So that instruction should be followed in that way. Like that also you can consider.
Okay.
So here in the case of Brahma, Brahma being a creator, he is requesting all his children to assist him. And also, by the way, he is not telling that only do that. By the way, worship the Supreme Lord. So here Kardamanu did both. He worshipped the Supreme Lord and also begot children. So that gave complete satisfaction to Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma kind of expresses same satisfaction with Swayambhu Manu also. Swayambhu Manu himself approached Lord Brahma that please tell me for my father, what should I do? How can I please you? Then whatever Lord Brahma told, Swayambhu Manu did and attained perfection. So in that way.
Thank you, Prabhu. And father, whatever has been said, that is, if the father is Vaishnava, right? Means otherwise also, but if father is degraded, then it is a different case.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, here we are, the Bhagavatam is being discussed in a different scenario. The modern day context, many of these we have to see through a lens. So everything we cannot blindly say. Of course, in the modern day, we cannot apply everything as it is. So we need to differentiate between what to do, what not to do. That is there. Discriminate.
Thank you.
For example, Lord Ram followed the words of his father. Though father gave word to his wife Kaikeyi, so father did not tell directly. Kaikeyi told that your father gave me a boon. So for that boon, I requested him that you should go to forest for 14 years. Lord Ram followed without any question. So that is one example, following the words of the father. So in that way. And the 5 Pandavas. So Duryodhana, who is a representative of Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra told that, I mean, if you are defeated in this game, you have to go to forest for 12 years and live in incognito for 1 year. So even though they are the words of Duryodhana or Shakuni, but the Pandavas considered it, that is the word of Dhritarashtra, who is like their father now. Since their father passed away, they considered Dhritarashtra to be their father. So whatever he told, they followed. So that is the kind of surrender being indicated here. One may materially considered an illiterate man, but if he has faith in the spiritual master as well as the supreme personality of Godhead, then the meaning of spiritual revelation is immediately manifested before him. Materially, one may be illiterate man, but if one is Vishnu Tattva Veta Sehi Guru Hoy. So it's like, even if a Brahmana who is expert at Mantra Tantra Visharada, if he is Avaishnava Guruna Tasyat, If he is not a Vaishnava, he should not be accepted as a guru. An expert Brahmana who is expert in chanting mantras and other things should not be accepted as a guru. But even if a person born in dog eaters family, if he is knowledgeable about Lord Vishnu, should be accepted as guru. So it's like that. So having glorified Kardama Muni, Lord Brahma continues further. Ima duhitra satyas tavavastasu madhyama sargam etad prabhavai svair brahmayishyanti anekada.
Lord Brahma then praised Kardama Muni's 9 daughters, saying, "All your thin-waisted daughters are certainly very chaste. I am sure they will increase this creation by their own descendants in various ways."
So Kardama says that, my dear father, what you are saying, I did not fulfill your order. I have not begotten any son who could increase the population. I only begot some daughters. I did not follow your order properly. Then Lord Brahma said that, my dear son, don't worry. These 9 daughters of yours, your good self, they are very beautiful and they will beget children and they will populate the entire universe with different category of living entities. So you have accomplished my instruction through these 9 daughters of your good self. So don't worry that you are not begotten any sons. Don't worry about it. So like that, Lord Brahma is kind of consoling Kardama Muni. So in that way. Atastvam rushi mukkebhyo yatashilam yataruchi atmaja paridehadya Vistrini Yashobhuvi.
Therefore, today please give away your daughters to the foremost of the sages with due regards for the girls' temperaments and likings, and thereby spread your fame all over the universe.
So Lord Brahma came there along with his 14 sons. So looking at his sons and looking at Kardama Muni, so Lord Brahma is saying that, Ataswam Rushi Mukkebhyo. Oh, my dear son, my dear Kardama, see here, great sages are there, the great rishis are standing in front of you. And select them. Yata Shilam Yata Ruchi. Atmaja Paridehi Adya. Today itself, right now, you select 9 among them and marry them to your 9 daughters according to their quality, the match of their qualities and their inclination. Yata Shilam Yata Ruchi. According to the comparison with respect to the Shila, that is qualities or guna, their qualities, their conduct, and Ruchi, according to their inclination. Visrnihi Yashobhuvi. And by marrying them to suitable husbands among these great sages, great rishis, you will increase your fame in the entire universe. So Lord Brahma himself brought the marriage proposals for the 9 daughters of Kardama. So that shows that Lord Brahma is very much pleased with Kardama. So among the 14 sons that Lord Brahma brought there to the ashrama of Kardama Muni, 1 was Narada Muni and 4 were Chatushkumaras. Except those 5, the remaining 9 sons were Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulasya, Pulaha, Kratu, Bhrugu, Vasishta and Atharva. These were the 9 sons of Brahma who will eventually, the same day after Lord Brahma's departure, marry the 9 daughters of Kardama Muni. So these names we keep hearing in our Puranas, Ramayana, Mahabharata. They are the great personalities and they are all direct sons of Lord Brahma. They married the 9 daughters of Kardama. And the children begotten through these 9 daughters of Kardama, through these 9 sages, will be explained in the first chapter of the fourth canto. Fourth canto, first chapter talks about their children. All these rishis are most important, and Brahma desired that the 9 daughters already born of Kardama Muni be handed over to them. Here 2 words are used very significantly, Yata Shilam, Yata Ruchi. The daughters, of course, from here onward, the entire purport is about how the marriage should be organized, how the marriage should be conducted. So it may be one of the assisting point for all the parents. The daughters should be handed over to the respective rishis, not blindly, but according to the combination of character and taste. Yata Shila, Yata Ruchi. That is the art of combining a man and woman. Man and woman should not be united simply on the consideration of sex life. There are many other considerations, especially character and taste. If the taste and character differ between the man and woman, their combination will be unhappy. Even about 40 years ago, so Prabhupada is talking about 40 years ago with respect to the time he was writing the purports. So 1965, Srila Prabhupada went to US. Maybe 66, 67, Prabhupada might be writing the commentary on this third canto, or even 65, 66 itself, because in India only Prabhupada wrote commentary for the first canto and second canto. First canto was already published and Prabhupada took it along with him to US. So 1965, 66, maybe, yeah. During 1966, Prabhupada is writing, and 40 years ago, matlab 1920s, that time thing Prabhupada is talking about. In Indian marriages, the taste and character of the boy and girl were first of all matched, and then they were allowed to marry. This was done under the direction of the respective parents. The parents used to astrologically determine the character and taste of the boy and girl. And when they are corresponded, the match was selected. This girl and this boy are just suitable and they should be married. Other considerations were less important. The same system was also advised in the beginning of the creation of Brahma. Your daughters should be handed over to the rishis according to the taste and character. So this is being followed from the very beginning of the creation. So Prabhupada writes few more details about the same subject matter. According to astrological calculation, a person is classified according to whether he belongs to the godly or demoniac qualities. Deva Yoni, Asura Yoni, Pashu Yoni. So like that, 3-4 yonis are there. Rakshasa Yoni, like that 3-4 yonis are there. So basically they say that Deva Gana, Asura Gana, Rakshasa Gana, Manushya Gana, like that different Ganas are there. So the Gana should be matched between the bridegroom and bride. In that way, the spouse was selected. A girl of godly quality should be handed over to a boy of godly quality. A girl of demoniac quality should be handed over to a boy of demoniac quality. Then they will be happy. But if the girl is demoniac and the boy is godly, then the combination is incompatible. They cannot be happy in such a marriage. At the present moment, because boys and girls are not married according to quality and character, most marriages are unhappy and there is divorce. So it's like that. So Prabhupada actually kind of instructing about matchmaking, some details about that. Then Prabhupada talks about some details about from 12th canto. Only by the mutual attraction between male and female, the man and woman come together. When that expectations are not fulfilled, they go apart. So Prabhupada says that is not actual marriage, but a combination of men and women like cats and dogs. Therefore, the children produced in the modern age are not exactly human beings. They are simply Varna Sankara, as Arjuna indicates in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Human beings must be twice born. A child is first born of a good father and good mother. And then he is born again of the spiritual master and the Vedas. The spiritual master is like the second father and the Vedas are like second mother. The first mother and father bring about his birth into the world. Then the spiritual master and the Vedas become his second father and mother. According to the Vedic system of marriage, for producing children, every man and woman was enlightened in spiritual knowledge, and at the same time, at the time of their combination to produce child, everything was scrutinizingly and scientifically done. So Prabhupada actually talks about the importance of following all the culture very systematically in that way to beget good Krishna conscious children. So in that way. So Eta Shila, Yata Ruchi. That is important consultation. Lord Rama himself telling that don't marry them blindly, but according to the inclination of your daughters, get them married to these sages. So like that, it is indicated.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, they mentioned these 9 sages, among them Brigu and Vasishtha. There we hear about them in the Ramayana also. So what is their lifespan?
Their lifespan is as long as that of Brahma. They live for 100 years of Brahma.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Narada, 4 Kumaras, and these the 9 sages, the 9 Manasaputras of Lord Brahma, they have a specific service to do in this world. So they live for the entire duration of Lord Brahma. So by the way, you asked that question, what was the service of Narada Muni, 4 Kumaras, and these 9 sons of Brahma? Recently only we discussed in the 3rd canto itself.
To preach Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga.
Who will do what?
It will depend upon the 4 Kumaras preach different aspects. Narada will teach Bhakti Yoga, other will teach Karma Yoga, Nishkam Karma.
No, don't tell just like that. You tell what we discussed based on what we discussed in the Bhagavatam 3rd canto.
Narad Muni is going to preach Bhakti Yoga. The 4 Kumaras are going to preach Gyan, Tapasa, Nishkam Karma, and one more. I don't remember the last one.
Bas.
Yes.
Anyone else can try? Who is responsible for preaching what?
Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Narad Muni Prabhu Bhakti. 4 Kumaras for Jnana and Vairagya. Varnashrama Dharma, the Prajapati. And Jnana, Karma, Bhakti, and one more is remaining, Prabhuji.
I don't know, you should tell.
Okay. Jnana. Karma is Manu.
Okay.
Jnana, Vairagya, and Bhakti is Narad Muni.
Okay.
And fourth, I'm not getting Prabhuji. I just thought.
Okay. Anyone else can try? Who is supposed to preach what? What are their services? Narada Muni is responsible to preach Bhakti Yoga. The 4 Kumaras are responsible to preach Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Tapasya and Vairagya. 4 aspects. And these 9 Manasaputras, of course, along with Daksha Prajapati, and also the other sages of other sages who are also born through Brahma, they are all responsible to preach Nishkama Karma Yoga. These are all Prajapatis. The great sages are all Prajapatis. They are all responsible for preaching Nishkama Karma Yoga. And Narada Muni and the 4 Kumaras, who are like renunciates, they are responsible to preach Jnana, Yoga, Tapasya, Vairagya, and Bhakti. So these are the 6 items of Vidya, 6 sadhanas. So by the way, we'll be going to discuss about all the 6 sadhanas elaborately in the teachings of Lord Kapila, starting from 25th chapter onwards. The entire teachings of Lord Kapila is all about trying to understand about the 6 kinds of sadhanas. So that was the whole idea. So
Hare
now you got
Prabhuji, I just wanted to know, like, at that time, because the world was not populated, universe, there were no other relations. Because I was just thinking, like, Kardama Muni is also son of Brahmaji, and these
okay.
nine sages are also sons of Brahmaji.
Hmm.
That way, if we see, like, all the daughters of Kardama Muni are like granddaughters of Brahmaji, and they are getting married to their uncles in a way. Like, means I just, maybe that time all these such relations were not maintained, or it was not considered that way, because it was just the beginning of the universe. Or is this the right understanding what I'm?
No, one simple understanding is the relationships we are talking about is belonging to the our surroundings. Here we follow those relationships among us. The same kind of rules and regulations we cannot impose upon the higher beings. The relationships are given to us to restrict, uh, um, to control the unrestricted mixture of male and female. For that, we have all these relationships. But in the case of higher beings, they are not like that. They are not prone to unrestricted mixing. So they are very cultured beings. So here, initially the creation is happening, and in that way, so in one sense, Swayambhu Manu and Satarupa were also born directly from Brahma, and both of them married. And later on in the 4th canto, we'll study that Akuti, Prasuti, Devahuti. Akuti was given in marriage to Ruchi, sage Ruchi. And through Akuti, there appears Lord Yajna and Dakshina. Both of them seems to be born simultaneously from the same mother. But the one is Lord Vishnu, other one is Mother Lakshmi. So they are married. So some of the rules that we follow here, they may not be directly applicable in the higher beings, in the realm of the higher beings. So
Okay.
they are beyond our so-called rules and regulations. So we cannot impose our rules upon them many times.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, who are Sapta Rishis then? These are 9 rishis of sons of Lord Brahma. Then who are Sapta Rishis?
So during Swayambhu Manvantara, 7
Uh-huh.
among these 9 have become Saptarishis. Saptarishis, they are posts. The different people will become in charges for those posts every Manvantara. Every Manvantara, they keep changing.
Okay.
But during Swayambhu Manvantara, 7 of these 9 have become Saptarishis. I think 2 people, one is Marichi and Atharva. These 2 are not in Saptarishis. Remaining 7 are Saptarishis during that time. Atri, Angera, Pulasya, Pulahakartu, Bhrugu, Vasishta. These were 7 Saptarishis. Even now also currently Vasishta is there, one of the Saptarishis. If there is no other qualified person, the previous people only, they become again one of the Saptarishis.
So right now, the Manvantara is different. So therefore, all these characters are also different, except for Vashishta. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. The people who are accepting the position of Saptarishis are different now. Like Parashuram's father, Jamadagni, is one of the Saptarishis right now.
Achha, okay.
So
And
something
they
like that.
they are given some specific roles to play as such.
Yeah. The main function of Saptarishis is to preach Nishkama Karma Yoga. Whenever there is a downfall of Nishkama Karma Yoga, they come down and preach. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyudhanam dharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham. So it is the service of the sages to reinstate the principles of Nishkama Karma Yoga among the Grihastha order. The Grihastha order is supposed to follow Nishkama Karma Yoga. So that's why all the sages comes to the king. In the Ramayana and Mahabharata, we always hear that the sages keep coming to the royal darbar, and they keep instructing the king and keep instructing the important citizen of the town, so that people follow their Nishkama Karma Yoga as the householder very sincerely and rigidly, along with Bhakti Yoga. So that is
These
their
rishis are
service.
given a sorry, the same.
So yeah, please go ahead.
No, I was just thinking a special planet is given to them, right? When we say Saptarshi planet. or
Yeah, the Saptarishis mandal we can see every night. There is
Yeah.
this Big Dipper, that is called
Mhm.
Saptarishi mandal. The 7 stars located at
Yeah.
one place like question mark. These people,
Yeah.
as long as they are in the post, they will be residing there. Just like we have MP quarters, MLA quarters.
Mhm.
As long as somebody is a minister, they will be residing in those quarters. When their job is over, when their duty, the tenure is over, they'll vacate. Somebody else will come.
Okay, so basically all these rishis are like they're supposed to teach Nishkam Karma or yoga. That's their
Yes,
function.
yes. All the Prajapatis and all the rishis are responsible for preaching Nishkama Karma Yoga
Mhm.
all over the universe, especially in the lower planetary systems.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, can you please repeat which 2 are not included in the Saptarshi you mentioned?
Think Marichi and Adarva, the first and last.
Okay, thank you.
So in between 7 are Saptarishis for the first Manvantara. Vedahamadyam Purusham Avatirnam Swamayaya Bhutanam Sevadim Deham Bibranam Kapilam Mune.
O Kardama, I know that the original Supreme Personality of Godhead has now appeared as an incarnation by his internal energy. He is the bestower of all desire by the living entities, and he has now assumed the body of Kapila Muni.
So he glorified Kardama and he also glorified Kardama's 9 daughters. He also arranged for their marriage, the 9 sons of Brahma. Now he is going to glorify the son of son of Kardama, the Supreme Lord who is still in the womb of Mother Devahuti. Vedaham Adyam Purusham Avatirnam Samayaya Bhutanam Sevadim Deham Bibranam Kapilam Mune. Here he said that Vedaham, I understood that, I know. Adyam Purusham Avatirnam. The Adi Purusha, Adyam Purusha means Adi Purusha also, or Adyam Purusha means today, the original Purusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, had entered into the womb of your wife by his own potency, Swamaya. Bhutanam Sevadim Deham. In order to deliver, in order to give pleasure to, in order to give knowledge to all the living entities, he accepted a Deha, which will be called as Kapila Muni. The Supreme Lord, accepting a transcendental body, had entered into the womb of your wife, Devahuti. Today understood that. And he is going to appear in this world in order to give pleasure and knowledge to all the living entities of this world. And how did he come here? Not by force, but by his own internal potency. Avatirnam Samaya. So what was the verse from 4th chapter Bhagavad Gita, which indicates this particular point? Avatirnam Samaya. Hare Krishna. Chapter 4, one of the first few verses.
Yada yada dharmasya.
नहीं, उसमें कुछ नहीं.
अजोपि सन्नव्ययात्मा भूतानाम ईश्वरोऽपि सन् प्रकृतिं स्वामधिष्ठाय सम्भवामात्ममाया.
Meaning?
Although I am unborn and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I take birth by my own internal potency and I appear in every yuga.
Sambhavami Atma Maya. Ajopisa Navya Atma. Though I am unborn, but still I take birth with my internal potency. So that is the understanding. So Prabhupada says, in this verse we find the word Purusham Avatirnam Samaya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is everlastingly, eternally the form of Purusha, the predominator or the enjoyer. And when he appears, he never accepts anything of this material energy. The spiritual world is a manifestation of his personal internal potency, Atmamaya, whereas the material world is a manifestation of his material or differentiated energy, Mahamaya. The word Swamaya, by his own internal potency, indicates that whenever the Supreme Personality of Godhead descends, he comes in his own energy. He may assume the body of a human being, but that body is not material. In Bhagavad Gita, therefore, it is clearly stated that only fools and rascals, the Mudas, consider the body of Krishna to be a body of common human being. What was the verse?
Avjanati Mahmura, Manusham Tanamashram.
Then, next
Forgot the
line.
last. Forgot the last one. Last two lines.
Anyone else?
Parambhava
Avajananti mam muda manushim tanumashtam parambhava majananto mama bhutva maheshwaram. So, due to lack of complete understanding of my transcendental existence, they consider that I appear in my human-like form. That's what. The word Sevadim means that he is the virginal bestower of all the necessities of life upon the living entities. So in the Vedas also it is stated that he is the chief living entity and that he bestows all the desired necessities of other living entities. So what was this particular verse from Upanishads Prabhupada is indicating?
Nitya Nityanam Chetanas Chetanam. Eko
Then?
Bahunam Vedadati Kama, something like that.
Yeah, that only. Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kaman. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. Because he is the bestower of the necessities of all others, he is called God. The Supreme is also a living entity. He is not impersonal. As we are individual, the Supreme Lord is also individual. But he is the Supreme individual. That is the difference between God and the ordinary living entities. So now in the next two verses also, Lord Brahma is going to talk about more about the Supreme Lord, Lord Kapila, who is in the womb of Devahuti. More about his activities and his form. Jnana Vijnana Yogena Karmanam Uddaram Jata Hiranya Kesha Padmaksha Padmamudra Padambuja.
By mystic yoga and the practical application of knowledge from the scriptures, Kapila Muni, who is characterized by his golden hair, his eyes just like lotus petals, and his lotus feet, which bear the marks of lotus flowers, will uproot the deep-rooted desire for work in this material world.
Yeah. The more attributes of the Supreme Lord, attributes means qualities and activities. Jnana Vijnana Yogena Karmanam Uddaram Jata. Jata means, so my dear daughter Devahuti, the Supreme Lord had entered into your Jata, Jatra. He had entered into your womb. For what purpose? In order to preach Jnana Yoga and Vijnana Yoga. For what purpose? In order to deliver the people from Karma Yoga, from their attachment to Karma Yoga. In order to deliver the people from their attachment to Karma Yoga, the Supreme Lord going to appear as Kapila Muni in order to preach Jnana Yoga and Vijnana Yoga. Here Jnana Yoga refers to Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga. Vijnana Yoga refers to Bhakti Yoga. So Lord Kapila is specifically going to appear in order to preach Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, so that the people's attachment towards karma can be completely uprooted. So this is the purpose of the Supreme Lord's appearance as Kapila. And now, how to identify whether he is Supreme Lord or not? Some indications are given in the next two lines. Hiranyakesha, his hair are like golden in color. Padmaksha, his eyes are lotus-like. Padma Mudra Padambuja, his lotus feet is embedded with the symbols of lotus flower. So these are the indications of a person who is the personality of Godhead. Such kind of symptoms should be there. Hiranyakesha, Padmaksha, Padma Mudra, Padambuja. The lotus feet had the signs of lotus flower, and his eyes are as wide and open as the lotus petals, and his hair as golden as, I mean, as red as gold. So they are like the golden in color, something like that. So these are the indications of the personality of Godhead. So, and his mission and his appearance both are indicated here in this particular verse. In this verse, the activities and the bodily features of Lord Kapila are very nicely described. The activities of Lord Kapila Muni are forecast herein. He will present the philosophy of Sankhya in such a way that the studying his philosophy, people will be able to uproot the deep-rooted desire for karma, fruitive activities. Everyone in this material world engages in achieving the fruits of his labor. A man tries to be happy by achieving the fruits of his own honest labor, but actually he becomes more and more entangled. One cannot get out of this entanglement unless he has perfect knowledge or devotional service. So what was the verse with which we started our third canto subject matter? Third canto, 5th chapter, verse number 2. What are the verse which is indicating this particular paragraph?
Sukhaya karmani karoti loko.
Full verse.
Sukhaya karmani karoti loko nate sukham va nyaduparam va. I can't remember further.
Anyone else?
Bundete vier.
Vindete bhuya tata eva dukham.
Eva Sukham. Prabhuji, everybody is trying it.
You only tell, Prabhuji.
These are some of the important philosophical shlokas. So if we remember such kind of shlokas, it becomes easy for us to talk to the people whenever we want to talk about Krishna consciousness. By quoting some shloka, if we explain the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, it becomes more authoritative and more authentic, and it will be more convincing to the person who will be hearing also. So that was the reason I was always recall these shlokas and request all of you to recall, recall and remember these shlokas. So, Sukhaya karmani karoti loko, natai sukham vanayad uparamamba, vindeta bhuya natatayeva dukkam, yadatra yuttam, Bhagavan vadenna. Anyone can try explaining this verse?
People in this world try to do activities to get happiness, but in a actually they don't get happiness, and but they don't get happiness, and they just work results.
Sorry, what is that? They don't get happiness and
they don't get happiness at the same time, means they have to bear the karma phalas, that kind of.
okay. Anyone else can try?
I guess the miseries increase even further, like more problems get aggravated. Something like that.
No, that is fine, but I would like you to tell the entire translation. Not
In
one
the
point,
translation.
but may not be exactly, but in a paraphrased way. If somebody comes to you and you want to explain the meaning of this verse, so how do you explain?
Hare Krishna. Can I
Yes,
try,
Madhuri.
Prabhuji?
Yes, yes.
Sukhaya karma. People keep on endeavoring again and again without efforts, and they are neither saturated by that efforts nor they are getting the required fruits, yet they keep on trying hard because of their desire.
Mm,
And
so,
they still they keep on endeavoring for that little happiness.
No, there is no mention about little happiness here. So anyone else?
Prabhuji, can I read?
No, don't read and don't look into the book. If you start reading, simply reading, repeating, what is the use?
Okay.
So others, Hare Krishna, I will take the names otherwise, if you don't speak out. So none of the Prabhus are saying anything. Binit Prabhu, Durgadas Prabhu, Rishikesh Prabhu, Satish Prabhu. Please repeat, tell something. Nayar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Nayar Prabhu is not here, Prabhu, please.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
It is seen that people engage in fluid activities for getting happiness, but they achieve neither happiness, but instead they increase suffering. And even if they want to, in their distress and suffering increases, rather instead of getting any happiness, they keep on increasing their distress only. So what is the reason for this?
Okay, you have come very close to it. So the translation goes like this. The people in this world, they perform activities with an intention to mitigate their current miseries and get new happiness. But at the end, the activity is neither mitigating their past misery nor giving them new happiness. So instead of stop performing activities, they undertake new activities, hoping that that new activity will mitigate the past misery and give new happiness. But eventually that activity also results in more misery. So like that, they continue to experience perpetual misery. So my dear great sage Maitreya, can you kindly tell me the reason for this and remedy for this? So this was the whole meaning of the whole sloka. So this question actually properly fits in our current existence. What was happening now? Situation, see, lockdown after lockdown, vaccine after vaccine, virus variant after variant. So something like that. So in that way. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
So, keeping this verse in mind, as a grahastha, how do we live? Because there are some activities we are compelled to do. There's no other way. So, how do you like move on with this, with this kind of perception in your mind? I mean, you're not 24/7 conscious of this fact. So
Okay.
how do you go about it?
How do we go about it? I don't know. But a 5-year-old boy told. So we'll see what he said.
So in seventh, we wait till 7th canto.
5-year-old boy is saying about this. So kindly read this verse. Someone read this verse. Yeah, you only read, Mataji.
Okay.
Okay, I will read the verse for you and you read the translation. Sukham Aindrekam Daitya Deha Yogena Dehinam Sarvatra Labhyate Daivad Yata Dukkam Ayatnata.
Okay. Prahlad Maharaj continued, my dear friends born of demoniac family, the happiness perceived with reference to the sense objects by contact with the body can be obtained in any form of life, according to one's past studious activities. Such happiness is automatically obtained without endeavor, just as we obtain distress. You had mentioned this last time.
Kindly repeat this sentence loudly.
Such happiness is automatically obtained without endeavor, just as we obtain distress.
So the previous verse is that Sukhaya Karmani Karoti Loko. So people perform activities with an intention to mitigate their misery and get happiness. But this verse says that our current happiness is predetermined based on our past activities. So that means that our current activity does not promise that it is going to give happiness today. It may give happiness maybe in the next life.
Okay.
So whatever happiness we are supposed to get in this life is already predetermined by our activities in our past life. Sukham Aindriyakam Daitya Deha Yogena Dehinam. For an embodied soul, the happiness that is experienced by the senses, whether internal or external senses, with one's mind, intelligence, ego, or with one's karmendriya, jnanendriyas, it is already predetermined. How? Sarvatra labhyate daivad. According to the pre-arrangement of daiva, according to our previous karma, that happiness, the quota of happiness is already predetermined for all the living entities. Sarvatra means not only human beings, for every living entity. It is already predetermined. Whatever amount of happiness we are supposed to get, we will be getting in this life. How? Yata dukkam ayatnata. Just like the dukkam is also predetermined without any endeavor, the sukham is also predetermined. So there is no need to extra endeavor for it. Ayatnata dukkam is coming. Similarly, ayatnata sukham will come. Because the current dukkha or sukha depends upon the previous yatna, the previous life yatna. So then what? Again, now your question. Then should we do something or not?
Yeah, we cannot cease the activities.
Okay, no problem. Tat prayaso na kartavyo yata ayu vaya param natata vindate kshemam mukunda charanambujam. Please read the translation.
Endeavors merely for sense gratification or material happiness through economic development are not to be performed, for they result only in a loss of time and energy, with no actual profit. If one's endeavors are directed towards Krishna consciousness, one can surely attain the spiritual platform of self-realization. There is no such benefit from engaging oneself in economic development. Okay.
Tat prayaso na kartavyo. So, my dear friends, therefore, do not work for material happiness. Prahlad Maharaj is not telling that don't work at all. He is telling that don't work for material happiness. Because if you endeavor for material happiness, as it is indicated by Vidura in that verse, Sukhaya karmani karoto loko nato natai sukham panayatu paramba vindeta bhuya tatayava dukkam. So any material activity undertaken, it eventually leads to misery only. So keeping that in mind, that activity simply leads to yata ayu vaya param. The most important thing in our life span is our lifespan. The amount of time that was awarded to us in this human species is the most important asset for a person. If we use that time for material activities, we are simply losing our time. That is what indicated. Yata ayu vaya param. Our ayu is vaya. It is exhausted. It is spent, which is the most important thing in our life. Nadata vindate kshemam mukunda charanamujam. If that lifespan, if that time is being used in Mukunda Charana Seva, then one would get Vindate Kshemam, the highest happiness. Instead of using our time and energy in performing material activities, which eventually give only misery, but if they are used in the service of the Supreme Lord, they will give us ultimate happiness. That is the understanding of a 5-year-old boy.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
It is a tall order, very difficult to follow, but at least we should get inspiration.
Yes.
From these personalities. So which verse? Jnana Vijnana. Okay. So it's like that. Eshamanavite garbam pravishta katida. Sorry. Eshamanavite garbam pravishta kaita vardhana. Avidya samshaya grantim chitvagam vicharishyati.
Lord Brahma then told Devahuti, my dear daughter of Manu, the same Supreme Personality of Godhead who killed the demon Kaitabha is now within your womb. He will cut off all the knots of your ignorance and doubt. then he will travel all over the world.
So here the further activities of Supreme Lord also mentioned. Esha Manavite Garbham. That Supreme Lord, whose bodily features which are mentioned in the previous verse, whose purpose is also mentioned in the previous verse, Te Garbham, Pravishta. That Supreme Lord, who is also called as Kaitabardhana, the destroyer of Kaitaba, Madhu and Kaitaba demon, had entered into your womb, currently situated within your womb. And further service of that person, Avidya Samshaya Grantim Chitva Gam Vicharishyati. And you had a doubt previously, you had an inquiry, not inquiry, you had a question to your husband that I need to get fearlessness, kindly do needful for that. So now Lord Brahma is kind of indicating that this son, this Supreme Lord who is going to be born as your son will remove your avidya, the knot which is there in your heart, the knot in the form of avidya and the knot in the form of samshaya, the ignorance and doubt. Ignorance is ignorance about your swarupa, ignorance about your relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the doubt that you have about your perfection. So both will be removed by the Kaitaba, the killer of the Kaitaba demon, who is going to appear as your son, known as Kapila Muni. So Lord Brahma is assuring the Devahuti. So that is what is indicated. Of course, this is in respect to Devahuti. And the Lord is not only appearing to deliver Devahuti, he is appearing to deliver everyone. How does he do that? Chitva Gam Vicha Rishati. In order to destroy that Granthi which is in the heart, Avidya Granthi and Samshaya Granthi, he will travel all over the surface of the entire earth, delivering this knowledge to all people. So that is what is indicated. So in the purport, Prabhupada talks about taking reference from Bhagavad Gita that there are two Kapilas. One is Lord Kapila, the other one is atheistic Kapila. Though as it is mentioned in the Padma Purana, Lord Kapila, who is also known as Lord Vasudeva, he actually teaches Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga by teaching that Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga to his mother Devahuti, also to Lord Brahma and to other devatas and sages such as Bhrigu, and to a person known as Asuri Brahmana. So Lord Kapila will teach this Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga to all these different personalities, Lord Brahma and all the other devatas and all the sages headed by Bhrigu and to Brahmana Asuri. And there is another materialistic Kapila who will appear later, and he will teach atheistic Sankhya Yoga to another Brahmana known as Asuri. So many times Kapila Sankhya is named. People outside world, they say that the atheistic Kapila only they remember, the atheistic Sankhya Yoga. But here in the Bhagavatam, in Bhagavad Gita, we read about Sankhya Yoga of Lord Kapila. This Sankhya Yoga is non-different from Bhagavad Dharma, the Bhakti Yoga only. So the more details about Sankhya Yoga and all we will discuss in the future chapters, chapter 26 and 27. It goes into more details about the Sankhya Yoga, but that is the whole idea. So understanding of the Sankhya Yoga in proper order will destroy the Avidya Granthi and Samshaya Granthi, which are there in the heart of any living entity. So that was the whole purpose in Lord Kapila's appearance.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, what could be the reason that both the Sankhya philosophy have been named same? Means is it purposely that to create confusion and the knowledge should remain concealed only to the sincere devotees, or because Lord makes many arrangements like that we see at
No, not like that, not like that, not like that. It is like what was the verse 4:1?
Pardon?
Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 verse number 1. Yes, Binit Prabhu. Imam Viveshwate Yogam.
Yeah. Proktavana Hamavyayam.
So basically, in that shloka, Lord Krishna indicates that in due course of time, everything is lost. So Lord Krishna again revives it through the medium of a devotee. So same way, the Sankhya spoken by Lord Kapila, in due course of time, it is lost. Even in the future chapter also, we'll understand that since it is lost, I will revive, like that Lord says. So it is lost. And people take advantage of that. And they will revive in the name of the Supreme Lord, and they will try to speak their own philosophy. Basically, Sankhya philosophy talks about the 28 elements, which include the Paramatma or Bhagavan at the ultimate end. But the atheistic Sankhya talks about 26 elements, which ends with Atma only. There is no concept of Paramatma or Bhagavan in that Sankhya. So there is no surrender to Bhagavan is being indicated in the atheistic Kapila. Otherwise, the understanding of the remaining 26 elements is same. Only 27 the 28 elements is missing in the atheistic Sankhya. That is about surrender to Bhagavan. So that is the only difference. Otherwise, rest all is same.
And who was atheistic Sankhya Prabhuji?
No, atheistic Kapila.
Sorry, atheistic Kapila.
I don't know. Just I am also reading here only. I don't know who is he and when he appeared, how did he teach, etc. But at least that 6 systems of philosophy, that Kannada, Vasishta, Sankhya, Kapila is the 6 systems of philosophy are there, na? That Vaisheshika, first Purvamimamsa, then Vaisheshika, then Nyaya, then Sankhya, then Yoga, then Uttaramimamsa. That is Vedanta. Even in between, there is one thing called impersonalism that is also there. So Patanjali taught yoga, Kannada taught Vaisheshika, and Jaimini taught Karma Mimamsa, and Kapila taught yoga. Kapila taught Sankhya. Like that, all these 6 systems of philosophy are there. So that Sankhya is all about the atheistic Sankhya, which establishes Atma, which does not establish Paramatma.
Okay.
So that is understanding. Karma Mimamsa establishes karma. Vaisheshika establishes Paramanuvada. Nyaya establishes logic, understanding the cause and effect. And Sankhya establishes Atma. Yoga establishes Paramatma. And impersonalism establishes Brahman. And Vedanta or Uttaramimamsa establishes Bhagavan. So like that, 6 systems of philosophy have their particular goal to achieve. That is mentioned there.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
The word avidya is very significant. Avidya means forgetfulness of one's identity. Every one of us is a spirit soul, but we have forgotten. We think I am this body. This is called avidya. Samshaya granthi means doubtfulness. The knot of the doubtfulness is tied when the soul identifies the material world. That knot is also called ahankara, the junction of matter and spirit. By proper knowledge received from the scriptures in disciplic succession and by proper application of that knowledge, one can free oneself from the binding combination of matter and spirit. Brahma assures Devati that her son will enlighten her and also the entire world. After enlightening her, he will travel all over the world distributing the system of Sankhya philosophy. So, the word samshaya means doubtful knowledge. Speculative and pseudo-yogic knowledge is all doubtful. At the present moment, the so-called yoga system is prosecuted on the understanding that by agitation of the different actions of the bodily construction, one can find that he is God. The mental speculators think similarly, but they are all doubtful. Real knowledge is expounded in Bhagavad Gita. Just become Krishna conscious, just worship Krishna and become a devotee of Krishna. What is this verse Prabhupada is indicating?
Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskar. Mame vaishyasi yukteva matmanam matparayana.
Thank you. That is real knowledge, and anyone who follows that system becomes perfect without a doubt. So it's like that. Should we take a break or should we continue? It's already 7:35.
Take a break.
We can continue whatever others say. Probably.
Okay, okay. We'll take a break for a couple of minutes and then we'll continue. Hare Krishna. Ayam Siddha Ganadisha Sankhyacharyaisu Sammata Loke Kapila iti Akyam Ganta te Kirti Vardhana.
Your son will be the head of all the perfected souls. He will be approved by the acharyas, expert in disseminating real knowledge, and among the people, he will be celebrated by the name Kapila. As the son of Devahuti, he will increase your fame.
Yeah. Ayam Siddha Gunadisha Sankhyaacharya Susammata Loke Kapila iti Akyam Ganta te Kirti Vardhana. Ayam Siddha Gunadisha. So this personality who is in the womb of your wife, Devahuti, okay, he is Siddha Ganadisha. He is the best among the Siddha Purushas. He is the best among the perfected sages. Sankhyaacharya Susammata. And his philosophy is accepted and revered by all the acharyas of Sankhya. There might be so many other acharyas who are speaking Sankhya Yoga, but his philosophy will be worshipped and accepted as the highest authority on Sankhya Shastra, Sankhya Yoga, by all the Sankhyacharyas. Loke Kapila iti Akyam. He will be called in this world as Kapila. And Ganta te Kirti Vardhana. And by his activities, he will increase your fame in this world. Will be always identified as the son of Kardama and Devahuti. Thus, your glories will spread all over the universe. So like that, Lord Brahma glorifying Devahuti and Kardama by begetting their son, Lord Kapila, the Supreme Lord as their son. So, in that way. So, having mentioned that, Lord Brahma stopped his conversation and Lord Brahma departs for Satyaloka. Maitreya Uvacha Tau Ashwasya Jagasrushta Kumarai Sahanarada Hamso Hamsena Yanena Tridama Paramam Yayo.
Shri Maitreya said, after the speaking to Kardama Muni and his wife Devahuti, Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, who is also known as Hamsa, went back to the highest of the three planetary systems on his swan carrier with the four Kumaras and Narada.
Yeah. So Lord Brahma came with 14 of his sons. So leaving the 9 sons behind with the 5 sons, Lord Brahma goes back to Satyaloka, which is located above the 3 planetary systems, much above the 3 planetary systems, Bhuloka, Borloka, Sargaloka, on his swan carrier. So entire purport Prabhupada talks about the meaning of Amsa and Amsena Yanena, Amsa Yanena. So Lord Brahma is also called as Amsa Vahana. His carrier is called Amsa Vahana. His carrier is a Vimana, which appears to be like a swan, or swan itself. Swan itself is the carrier of Lord Brahma, just like Garuda is the carrier of Lord Vishnu, and Rishabha is the carrier of Lord Shiva. Amsa is the carrier of Lord Brahma. So he is Amsena Yanena, on the vehicle of Hamsa, swan. Lord Brahma, along with his 5 sons, Narada Muni and the 4 Kumaras, went back to Satyaloka. Tridama Paramam, which is located above the 3 Dhamas, Bhuloka, Bhurloka, and Svargaloka. So that is what is indicated. Gate Sheta Dhrita Ukshata Kardamastena Chodita Yatoditam Swaduhitra Pradad Vishwasrujam Tata.
O Vidura, after the departure of Brahma, Kardama Muni, having been ordered by Brahma, handed over his 9 daughters as instructed to the 9 great sages who created the population of the world.
Yeah. So, Gate Shetadrutau Kshatta. Kshatta means Ovidara. After the departure of Lord Brahma, who is called as Shetadrutau, Kardama Tena Chodita. Kardama, following the instructions of Lord Brahma, Yatoditam, following the words of Lord Brahma, Swaduhitri is he got his daughters married. Pradad Vishwasrujam Tata. He handed over the hand of his 9 daughters to the 9 sons of Lord Brahma, who are the Prajapatis of the entire world. Vishwasruja means who have populated the entire universe with their children. So the 9 sages whose names we read previously, they have married the 9 daughters of Devahuti and Kardama, and then they begot all the children. They were called Prajapatis, and all of us have some Gotra, and those Gotras are specifically after the names of these sons of Lord Brahma, because they were the Prajapatis, they were the followers of Karma Yoga, they were responsible to beget children, they were responsible to preach and teach Karma Yoga along with Bhakti Yoga so that people can live happily here and can live from this world happily. So that was the whole connection between all of them. So it is like that. That was the whole idea. All of us have some Gotra. That Gotra is connected to these, say, one of these sages. So, etc., etc. So there is one nice understanding. The meaning of Shetadrutau, which comes in the 4th canto itself, 4:24, 29. So wherein Lord Shiva was speaking to the 10 Prachetas as they were going to perform austerities before entering into household order. That time Lord Shiva appears to them and he kind of instructs them on how to perform devotional service by speaking Rudra Gita. So this is one of the verse from that section of Rudra Gita, where it is said that Swadharma Nishta Shetajanma Bipuman. Those living entities who follow the Swadharma Nishta, the Varnashrama Dharma according to their Varna and Ashrama very sincerely, for how long? Shetajanma Bipuman. For 100 lifetimes. Then they will become Brahma. Here the process to become Brahma is indicated here. Swadharma Nishta Shetajanma Puman. By following Swadharma for 100 lifespans, it could be either to become Brahma or it could be to enter into, okay, no, it is to become Brahma because Brahma is also one among the living entities. If one want to become Brahma, one need to follow Varnashrama Dharma perfectly, following all the rules and regulations for 100 lifetimes. And Virinchi Meti Tata Virinchi Meti. Thus one becomes Virinchi, Lord Brahma. And if one does more than that, Tata Paramhimam, one comes to me, one comes to my abode, one comes to Lord Shiva's abode, Kailash. If one follows one's Varnashrama Dharma more than 100 lifetimes, they are qualified to enter into Lord Shiva's abode. That is, in one sense, that is Kailash, or in other sense, it could be Brahman. The one who follows these rules for 100 lifetimes and also practices some jnana or yoga, they can enter into Sayujya. That is understanding here. Avyakritam Bhagavatota Vaishnavam. But one who follows the Vaishnava Dharma, the devotional service, okay? Padam Yataham Vibuddha Kalayate. So one goes to Bhagavato Padam. One goes to the abode of Lord Vishnu. So basically by practicing Varnashrama Dharma for 100 lifetimes, one can go to Satyaloka and become Brahma. If one practices more than that, one can enter into Brahman, the Shiva Sadashiva Loka. If one practices Vaishnava Dharma, one can enter into Bhagavad Dham. So Yataham Vibuddha Kalayate. Just like I am also existing in that abode of Lord Vishnu in a different form. So like that, Lord Shiva is indicating here in this verse. So that is the understanding of that word. Shetadrutau. Lord Brahma is called as Shetadrutau. Lord Brahma's form can be obtained by performing Varnashram Dharma for 100 lifetimes. Just like Indra is called as Shatakratu. One who performs 100 Ashwamedha Yajnas can become Indra. One who lives 100 lifetimes like this can become Brahma. So that is the understanding. That is the meaning of Shatadrutau. Maricha Kalam Pradat Anasuyam Atatraye Shraddam Angirase Yachat Pulasyaya Virbuvam Pulahaya Gatim Yuktam Kratavecha Kriyam Shatim Kyatim Cha Bhruguve Yachat Vashishtapya Arundatim Atarvane Dadachantim Yeya Yajno Vitanyate Viprashavan Krutodvadan Sadaran Samalayat. Can read 3 translations together.
Kardama Muni handed over his daughter Kala to Marichi and another daughter Anusuya to Atri. He delivered Shraddha to Angira and Havirbhu to Pulatsya. He delivered Gati to Pulaha and chased Kriya to Kritu, Khyati to Bhrugu and Arundhati to Vasistha. He delivered Shanti to Atharva. Because of Shanti, sacrificial ceremonies are well performed. Thus, he got the foremost Brahmanas married and he maintained them along with their wives.
Yeah. So, who was given to whom? That is being indicated here. Of course, their marriage, about the same details will also be mentioned in the 4th canto, 1st chapter, and the details about their children also mentioned there. So, Kala was given to Marichi, Anasuya was given to Atri, Shraddha was given to Angira, Havirbhu given to Pulasya, Gati given to Pulaha, Kriya given to Kratu, Khyati given to Bhrugu, Arundhati given to Vasistha, and Shanti given to Atharva. And Shanti is the present deity of performance of Yajna. Atharva is the present deity of Atharva Nangirasa Veda, etc. Something like that. So they all have some special responsibility, etc. etc. But having married them for some time, maybe for few days, Kardama Muni took care of his son-in-laws very nicely. So before giving them farewell, he took care of them very nicely for few days. So that is indicated here. Tatastha Rishaya Kshatta Kritadara Nimantratam Pratishtam Nandim Apanna Swamsam Ashrama Mandalam.
Thus married, the sages took leave of Kardama and departed full of joy, each for his own hermitage, O Vidura.
Yeah, after spending some time or few days in their in-laws' home, the newly married sages, the newly married sons of Lord Brahma, along with their wives, they went to their respective ashramas. So, done. So, next what? Sa chavatirnam triyugam ajnaya vibudarshabham vivikta upasangamya pranamya samabhashata.
When Kardama Muni understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the chief of all the demigods, Vishnu, had descended, Kardama approached him in a secluded place, offered obeisances, and spoke as follows.
So, then, seems that in the meantime or during that time, Lord Kapila was also born through the womb of Devahuti. Of course, that day, when he entered into the womb of Devahuti, Lord Brahma understood, the Devatas understood that Lord is going to appear the shivered flowers, and Lord Brahma came down, worshipped the Supreme Lord, glorified Kardama, Devahuti's daughters, and other things, etc., etc. And as he departed, then the marriage happened, and eventually Lord Kapila was born. And since they are all in the Devata category, so as soon as he was born, he was also grown up to youth. It is not that they need to take care of the baby day by day, year by year, not like that. As soon as the children were born, immediately they become youthful. So one day, understanding that Lord is alone in somewhere nearby Vana, nearby area. So Kardamuni approached him in solitude. So Devahuti was in the ashram, in the home, and Lord Kapila was somewhere nearby, and Kapila was somewhere nearby, and Kardamuni approached him during that time. Sa Chavatirnam Rushtri Yugam, and the Lord is glorified as Tri Yugam, because in 3 yugas, Lord appears announcing everyone that he is the Supreme Lord. But in Kali Yuga, Lord does not appear. So first of all, he does not appear. If at all he appears in a disguised form. Channa Kalau. So Prabhupada actually takes the reference of Prahlad Maharaj prayers, in which he also said that Lord is 3 yugi. In 3 yugas, he appears in a personally manifested form, announcing that he is the Supreme Lord to the entire universe. But in Kali Yuga, if at all he appears in a disguised form. So Prabhupada talks about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, the Supreme Lord in the disguise of a devotee. So that is indicated in this verse. Lord Vishnu is called Tri Yuga. He appears in 3 yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapara. But in Kali Yuga, he does not appear. From the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, however, we understand that he appears garbed as a devotee in Kali Yuga. Lord Chaitanya is that devotee. Krishna appeared in the form of a devotee. But although he never disclosed himself, Rupa Goswami could understand his identity. For the Lord cannot hide himself from a pure devotee. Rupa Goswami detected him when he offered his first obeisances to Lord Chaitanya. What was the verse that Rupa Goswami offered to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he first met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namah.
In that verse, he directly tells that you are Lord Krishna himself appeared as Krishna Chaitanya. It's like that. He knew that Lord Chaitanya was Krishna himself and therefore offered his obeisances with the following words. I offer my respects to Krishna who has now appeared as Lord Chaitanya. This is also confirmed in the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. In Kali Yuga, he does not directly appear, but he appears as a devotee. Vishnu, therefore, is known as Tri Yuga. So another explanation of Tri Yuga is that he has 3 pairs of divine attributes, namely power and affluence, piety and renown, wisdom and dispassion, knowledge and renunciation, piety and renown, the fame and kindness, and power and affluence. So Sridhar Swami, according to Sridhar Swami, his 3 pairs of opulence are complete riches and complete strength, complete fame and complete beauty, and complete wisdom and complete renunciation. Aishwaryasya Samagrasya. So that verse is actually indicating here. Aishwaryasya Samagrasya Viryasya Ashasriya Jnana Vairagyos Chaiva Sannam Bhaga Itingana. The 6 opulence of the Supreme Lord are indicated here. There are different interpretations of Tri Yuga, but it is accepted by all learned scholars that Tri Yuga means Lord Vishnu. When Kardama Muni understood that his son Kapila was Vishnu himself, he wanted to offer his obeisances. Therefore, when Lord Kapila was alone, he offered his respects and expressed his mind as follows. So now Kardama Muni speaks to Lord Kapila, starting from verse number 27 to 34. He expresses his gratitude unto Lord Kapila and he kind of begs forgiveness, begs for permission to go to the forest, because previously he made a agreement with his wife that as soon as you beget children, I will go to forest. So previously when he was ready to go to forest after begetting daughters, the wife accepted for fearlessness. Now the Supreme Lord himself appeared as the son. So what else can be the best proposition? So now he is ready to go to forest. This time, instead of asking his wife, he is asking his son, the Supreme Lord. So that is what is indicated in the future verses. Aho papacha mananam Nirayesvair amangalair kalena bhuyasa nunam prasiddhanti hadevata.
Kardama Muni said, "Oh, after a long time, the demigods of this universe have become pleased with the suffering souls who are in the material entanglement because of their own misdeeds."
So basically in the next 3 verses, this verse and next 2 verses, so how the reciprocation received by the practitioners of karma, jnana and bhakti. So this verse talks about the people who are practicing karma. By practicing so many Vedic rituals, those who are worshipping devatas with the intention to get blessings, auspicious results and happiness and Aishwarya in their life, they will be awarded the blessings, but they will have the darshan of devatas, or they will get the entry to Swarga only after many lifetimes of tapasya, or after many lifetimes of hard labor. So getting the darshan of devatas or entering into Swarga is not so easy. They may get the fulfillment of their desires immediately here and there once in a while. But getting the darshan of the devatas and getting their audience and their association is little difficult, not that easy. So that is indicated in this verse. Aho papachutatmanam nirayesver amangalai kalena bhuyasa nunam prasidantiha devata. Iha, in this material world, getting the audience and blessings of the devatas is not so easy. It takes hard labor. So that is what is indicated here. The material world is a place of suffering, which is due to the misdeeds of the inhabitants, the conditioned souls themselves. The sufferings are not extraneously imposed upon them. Rather, the conditioned souls create their own suffering by their own acts. It is not that somebody is imposing upon us the miseries. Instead, we are actually getting our own miseries. That is indicated. In the forest, fire takes place automatically. It is not that someone has to go there and set a fire. Because of friction among various trees, fire occurs automatically. When there is too much heat from the forest fire of this material world, the devatas, including Brahma himself, being harassed, approach the Supreme Lord and appeal to him to alleviate the condition. Then the Supreme Lord descends. In other words, when the devatas become distressed by the suffering of the conditioned soul, they approach the Supreme Lord to remedy the suffering, and the Supreme Lord descends. When the Lord descends, all the devatas become enlivened. Therefore, Kardama Muni says that after many, many years of human suffering, all the devatas are now satisfied because Kapila Deva, the incarnation of Godhead, has appeared. So it is like that. So Prabhupada connects to the happiness of the devatas, the appearance of Lord Kapila. And the next verse talks about the Jnanis and Yogis, how much it is difficult for them to enter into Sayuja, get Brahmananda. For the Karmis, their happiness is in Swarga. For the Jnanis, their happiness is in Brahman. That is indicated here. Bahujanma vipakvena samyag yoga samadhina drashtum yatante yataya shunyagareshu yat padam.
After many births, mature yogis, by complete trance in yoga, endeavor in secluded places to see the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So, Bahujanma vipakvena samyag yoga samadhina. After the endeavor of many lifetimes, Bahujanma vipakvena, having attained the state of samadhi, drashtum yatante yataya. Yataya means yati. Yati means the renunciates, the sannyasis or the renunciate, basically the Vanaprastha sannyasis, practice Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga with an intention to have your darshan. Shunyagareshu yat padam, with an intention to have your darshan in the form of Brahman or Paramatma, and also want to enter into Brahman. That is only possible after long, prolonged endeavor. That is not very easy. To get to the stage of Samadhi and to get Brahmananda and to enter into Brahman, For jnanis or yogis, for the yatis, it is not that easy. They need to go through bahujanma vipakvena, bahujanma yatnena, the endeavors for many lifetimes. So either the karmis with a, I mean, in order to attain swarga, or for the jnanis and yogis, in order to attain Brahman, they need to work hard for many lifetimes. It is not that easy. And Prabhupada talks about the so-called yoga that is being followed nowadays. About that, he talks about in the entire purport. So basically, it says that Shunna Garesh, basically they go to forest in a lonely place. They practice yoga with an intention to get Brahman. So that is the whole idea. So Prabhupada says that this yoga cannot be practiced in the modern cities. So yoga need to be practiced in a solitary place. So that is this yoga is not at all possible nowadays. Whatever yoga we practice, that is all some body jugglery, something like that Prabhupada says. So now Kardama Muni is talking about devotees, including him as part of the devotees. Saeva Bhagavan Adya Helanam na ganayena Griheshu Jato Gramyanam Yaswanam Pakshaposhana.
Not considering the negligence of ordinary householder like us, that very same personality of Godhead appears in our homes just to support his devotees.
Yeah, here interesting point is that Sayeva Bhagavan Adya, that same supreme personality of Godhead who is searched by the Jnanis and Yogis in his manifestation as Brahman and Paramatma, that same supreme Lord Adya today, Helanam na ganayana griheshu jato gramyanam, griheshu jato, appeared in my home. That supreme personality of Godhead who is searched after by the Jnanis and Yogis in order to get a darshana Brahman and Paramatma had appeared in my home today. Who am I? I am a griheshu gramyanam. I am a person very much attached to household activities, and in my entire life I have never given to high regard to Supreme Lord. Helanam, I have neglected him. Na ganayana, I have not considered him one of the important person in my life. Of course, these words are spoken by Kardama Muni out of humility. It is not that he neglected the Supreme Lord, he never considered Supreme Lord to be one of the important aspects of his life. But as a humility, the person of humility is simply expressing his gratitude to Supreme Lord. That Supreme Lord personally appeared in his home today as their son. Because the Lord appears very quickly and very easily because, yeah, Swanam Paksha Poshana. The Lord is called as Swa Paksha Poshana. Swana means his own devotees. Paksha means the division. The Lord always shows special favor for his devotees. Swapaksha Poshana. In the case of karmis, in the case of jnanis and yogis, Lord waits for a long time, then gives them some reciprocation in the form of Swarga or Brahman. But for devotees, even though little endeavor taken by devotees, Lord comes forward and reciprocates with them very eagerly because he is Swanam Paksha Poshana or Swapaksha Poshana. So that is the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is special affection Lord has towards his devotees. So there is one verse in Bhagavad Gita which talks about Lord's reciprocation with his devotees and Lord's reciprocation with the practitioners of Jnana and Yoga. So can anyone recall what was the verse?
ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तास्तथैव भजाम्यहं मम वर्त्मानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्याः पार्थ सर्वशः.
Okay, this is a general verse, but there is a one more verse, more specific. Samoham, that verse.
Samoham sarvabhuteshu. That.
Anyone else can state the full verse?
Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyasti no para ye bhajanti tu ma bhaktya mayi teshu chapyaham.
Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyosya na priya I am equal to everyone. I do not like anybody. I do not hate anybody. Name dveshosi na priya. So these two lines indicates the reciprocation of Paramatma with all the living entities. Paramatma sees all the living entities equally. But Bhagavan does not see all the living entities equally. Bhagavan says that, Ye bhajanti tu maam bhaktya, maite teshu chapeham. But those who worship me in devotional service, I am always there in front of them. I reciprocate with them very quickly, but not with others who do not worship him. So the next two lines talks about Bhagavan's reciprocation with his devotees. Paramatma is equal to all. Paramatma reciprocates equally with all. You do something, I will reciprocate accordingly. But for devotees, Ye bhajanti tu maam bhaktya maite teshu chapeham. I am there with them in all circumstances for those who are surrendered to me. So this is Lord's special affection for devotees. So that's why he is called as Swanam Paksha Poshana. He takes care of his devotees, considering him to be his own man, something like that. Devotees are so affectionate toward the personality of Godhead that although he does not appear before those who practice yoga in a secluded place, even for many births, he agrees to appear in a householder's home where devotees engage in devotional service without material yoga practice. In other words, devotional service without material yoga practice. In other words, devotional service to the Lord is so easy that even a householder can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one of the members of his household, as his son, as Kardama Muni experienced. He was a householder, although a yogi, but he had the incarnation of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Kapila, in his own home as his son. So this is the great fortune of Lord Kapila.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Matish.
Prabhuji, I'm little confused about Kardama Muni is devotee. Now, like earlier also in the beginning when Lord gave darshan to Kardama Muni, that time also Lord was overwhelmed seeing his austerity and his teardrop fell in Bindu Sarovar, like that we studied. So like Kardama Muni is yogi or devotee or both?
No, he is a devotee in Satyayuga. Satyayuga, the process was
doing tapa and meditation, dhyana.
So he was doing dhyana also.
Okay, so in Satyayuga, all the devotees were yogis only because the process was meditation. Is it that way?
They are Yoga Mishra Bhaktas. For example, Dhruva, how did he perform devotional service?
Yeah.
So like that. The devotees during Satyayuga, they were performing bhakti along with yoga, along with meditation. Because that was the process mentioned there during that time.
Their process of bhakti was yoga. That's what. Okay. Yeah.
Their prasa bhakti includes yoga. That is understanding.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
So basically, Kardama Muni is telling that the karmis and jnanis or yogis receive Lord's mercy after a long time. But since I am like a kind of small devotee, you have shown your mercy upon me because you are favorably inclined towards your devotees. You have appeared in my home as our son. So Kardama Muni is expressing his gratitude towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Though I don't deserve it, but you made your appearance in my home out of your causeless mercy upon me. So that is the gratitude expressed by Kardama Muni unto Lord Kapila. And next he continues. Sviyam vakyamrutam kartum avatirnosi me gruhe chikirshur bhagavan jnanam bhaktanam manavardana.
Kardama Muni said, "You, my dear Lord, who are always increasing the honor of your devotees, have descended in my home just to fulfill your word and disseminate the process of real knowledge."
Yeah. So now he's telling that what was the reason for your appearance in my home? Sviyam vakyam ritam kartum. in order to make your words true. Because previously, after the performance of 10,000 years, you made your appearance to me. You told that very soon, in next 2 days, Swayambhuman will come with his daughter and she will get 9 daughters through you. And then I will also appear as your son. You told long back. So in order to make that word true, you appeared. Avatir no sime gruha, you appeared in my home. And also that is not the complete purpose of your appearance. In addition to that, Chikirshur Bhagavad Jnanam. In order to disseminate the knowledge, disseminate the sadhana following which people attain Bhagavan, Bhagavad Jnanam, the Bhagavad Dharma, Bhakti, along with Jnana and Yoga, you appeared in my home. And Bhaktana Manavardhana, in order to increase the fame of devotees, in order to increase our fame and also the fame of devotees, you have made your appearance. So these are the various reasons for your appearance. When the Lord appeared before Kardama Muni after his mature yoga practice, he promised that he would become Kardama's son. He descended as the son of Kardama Muni in order to fulfill the promise. Another purpose of his appearance is Chikrishur Bhagavad Jnanam, to distribute knowledge. Therefore, he is called Bhaktana Manavardhana, he who increases the honor of his devotees. By distributing Sankhya, he would increase the honor of the devotees. Therefore, Sankhya philosophy is not by dry mental speculation. Sankhya philosophy means devotional service. How could the honor of the devotees be increased unless Sankhya were meant for devotional service? So, devotees are not interested in speculative knowledge. Therefore, the Sankhya enunciated by Lord Kapila is meant for establish one family in devotional service. Real knowledge and real liberation is to surrender unto Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage in devotional service. So it is like Bhagavad Jnanam. The real Bhagavad Jnana is all about to engage in devotional service and go back to Godhead. So Lord Kapila appeared to preach that Bhagavad Jnana. So that is the purpose of Lord's appearance. So it is like that. Here Kardama Muni further continues, further elaborates on the same point. Tani evate virupani, rupani bhagavamstava, tani yani charochante, swajnanam arupina.
My dear Lord, although you have no material form, you have your own innumerable forms. They truly are your transcendental forms, which are pleasing to your devotees.
Yeah, here. So previously, in the previous verses, he mentioned about the Devatas. He mentioned about Brahman and Paramatma. He also mentioned about Bhagavan. So whenever you appear in your Bhagavan form in various avatars, all those forms are actually transcendental forms. They are all Sachidananda Vigraha forms. Tani evate avirupani, rupani Bhagavam stava. So in whichever form you appear, all the forms are all Bhagavat. Yani yani cha rochante swajnanam arupina. And you appear in all those forms in order to give pleasure to your devotees. But you are not the form which is glorified by the jnanis and yogis, which they consider to be one of your form, material form, one of your form, that is the universal form, which does not give any pleasure. So basically it's telling that you have made your appearance in many forms, all those are transcendental. But as jnanis and yogis consider that you also appear in the form of universal form, the Virat Rupa. But that is not your original form. And that form does not give pleasure to your devotees. Tani evate virupani, rupani bhagavastava, yani cha rochante, swajnanam arupina. So it is like that. All your Bhagavan forms are meant for giving pleasure to all your devotees. But your material form, the Virat Rupa, is not your transcendental form. That does not give any pleasure to your devotees. That is what is indicated. So Prabhupada talks about the many forms of Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, Lord Rama, and Narayana, etc. All the different forms are there. They are all the Supreme Lord's forms. Rama Dimushitu Kalain Yemena Tishtan, Nana Avataran Makarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu. Krishna Swayam Samavad Tuyeja Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajam. So like that. Tvam Suribhistatva Bubustayadha Sadapi Vivadarhana Padapitam Aishwarya Vairagya Yeshovadaya Avabodha Virya Shriya Purtamaham Prapadye.
My dear Lord, your lotus feet are the reserves to receive worship homage from all great sages, eager to understand the absolute truth. You are full in opulence, renunciation, transcendental fame, knowledge, strength, and beauty. And therefore, I surrender myself unto your lotus feet.
So he says that Aham Prapadde, I take shelter of your lotus feet. Why? Tvam Suribis, your devotees. Tvam Suri refers to the devotees. Tvam means your devotees. Tattva Bubhushitastayada, with a desire to understand the real knowledge about your personal form, like Janma Karma Chame Divyam Yevam Yoveta Takva Deha Punarjanma Naiti Mamitsu Arjuna. So your devotees, those are always interested to understand about your personal form, your form of Bhagavan, consisting of Sada Abhivada Arahana Pada Pitam, who always consider that form of yours to be worthy of worship, who is always situated in their heart, consisting of 6 opulences: Aishwaryasya, Samagrasya, Yashasasriya, Jnana Vairagyuschaiva Sannambaga Kitingana. So Aishwarya, Vairagya, Yashas, Avabodha means Jnanam, Virya, Sriya, Purtam, completely. Your form is completely endowed with all the 6 opulences. And your devotees wanted to have the complete understanding of your Sachidananda form filled with 6 opulences. And I take that form of yours. I take shelter of that form of yours. Here is actually indicating the transcendental nature of the Lord's Bhagavan's form and his eagerness to surrender to that form. So that is being indicated here in this verse. So like this, in 2 more verses, Kardama will also glorify the Supreme Lord. One more verse, he glorifies the Lord's forms, and another verse, he takes permission from the Lord. Then Lord instructs him how to conduct his sadhana, by traveling in the forest, etc. Then his attainment of perfection. With that, this chapter concludes. That we will see in the next week. So we'll stop here today. So before closing, any questions finally?
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Prabhuji, while reading the previous whatever we did last time, I was just thinking that means when I was reading that when Lord Kapila was about to appear, Gandharvas and all the Apsaras, they were dancing and all that. So I was thinking like whenever Lord appears in the material world, it is only on the earth planet or in the heaven also sometimes Lord appears, or in the upper planetary system, jo upper lokas hai, wahan bhi Lord appears.
So he can appear anywhere, but the scriptures which are given to talks about Lord's appearance here at our place. So we don't have to study about Lord's appearance somewhere else. We are generally presented the scriptures about Lord's appearance in our place, here in our surroundings, many times like that.
In our planet, like that.
Yeah.
Because I have also heard in one of the lectures saying that whatever Bhagavatam we hear and study on the earthly planet, that has some amount of verses, but even the Ramayana, that upper planetary system, if we go, the amount of verses in the same scriptures is much more than what it is here.
Because they have the capacity to go through that bigger scriptures and contemplate, understand, they have that, but for us, even this itself is big. So it is like that.
Okay, so Lord does appear on the upper planetary system, but that is beyond our to understand and study. So only whatever is possible for us, that we study here.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you.